Welcome to the Tea of Life podcast, where our mission is to transform every attitude of life by encouraging and equipping you to live the life you love and love the life you live. I am your host, Tiffany Thompson. All right, so today we have Chanelle Neilson on the podcast. Hello, Chanelle. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tiffany. I'm so excited to be here.
Chanelle and I know each other because we are in a podcasting mastermind group together, along with other great podcasters such as Merritt Anza with Devoted Dreamers podcast. We have Ashley Carroll with It Takes a Village podcast, Corinne Sandifer with Rising Stories, and Larissa Bolin with the Castle and Cloud Travel podcast. So I know that that's not really relevant to today's podcast, but I just wanted to give a shout out to them because if it weren't for that mastermind group, you and I probably would not know each other.
Yeah, and it's so fun to recognize other people and to see like the podcast or the mastermind is so fun because we get to go behind the scenes and kind of know each other in a different way. So I'm glad you mentioned all of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Chanelle is the host of Moms Who Know podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to moms who want to take care of themselves so that they can take care of their families even better. And she says that being a mom can sometimes feel overwhelming. Sometimes it feels like there is no time for you. Amen, sister.
It's true.
It is very true. Chanelle is a mom to 5 kiddos and has a passion for family, health, fitness, and personal growth. And I wanted to have her on the podcast today because sometimes momming can be very overwhelming. We can sometimes wonder, what have I gotten myself into? And sometimes in order for moms to love their life, they may need a change. And that change can sometimes mean something as simple as just taking better care of themselves in small, practical ways and not feeling guilty for it. Oh, that wonderful mom guilt.
We all have it.
We do. If I'm taking care of myself, then someone else is suffering, when it's really not true. Chanelle, we are so excited to have you here with us today and have you talk about your self-care challenge on our podcast.
Well, thanks. I'm excited to jump into it. I think we'll have a lot of fun.
So when you talk about your self-care challenge, you say that when we take care of ourselves in these areas, we feel better and serve from a better place. And you've defined different areas of self-care for moms. You have a physical, mental, pamper, relaxation, nourishment, and social. So
Yes.
I'd love to go through those individually and talk about them.
Yeah, for sure. So we can just jump right in then and talk about each of those. So I feel like, sometimes self-care, a lot of times when we think of self-care, I think the first thing that we jump to is kind of that relaxation, pampering one. We think of, if I'm doing self-care, it's getting a massage or it's getting my nails done or something like that that's, kind of bigger and kind of not your everyday.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really like for moms to know is that self-care is a daily thing and needs to be a daily thing because we have to take care of ourselves well so that we can take care of other people. So we can kind of go through these. The first one is physical self-care. So when you think of physical self-care, you might think of, I think most of our minds go right to exercise, right? You think, okay, physical
Right.
self-care, I got to go out and exercise. And that is definitely a part of physical self-care. But it doesn't always have to mean, say, going for a run. You're a runner and you say, okay, I'm going to run 5 miles every day. Well, what if one day you wake up and you've got shin splints? Well, that day, physical self-care is not going to mean going for a run because when we really take the time to see what we need physically, then we're going to tune in and say, you know what? My legs need a break. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do some yoga, or I'm going to sit and do some deep breathing and just let my physical body rest for the day. That might be the physical self-care that we need.
Right.
Another aspect of physical self-care is our surroundings. So that could mean like physical self-care might mean we need to beautify our home a little bit. Maybe we say, you know what? I've never liked that picture. I did this recently. We had a picture in the dining room. When we moved here, my husband worked for a home builder, and we were lucky enough to go to a model home sale and get to buy stuff from the model home, which was awesome because it was so inexpensive. We bought our bedroom set for $95.
way!
The dressers, and they're nice. Such a good deal. Quality
awesome.
furniture. We have we just got rid of it. We had a big picture that was probably like, I don't know, 6 feet by 4 feet, just this big, huge picture. And we got it for $25. I mean, just
Oh my
steal,
word.
everything was
Wow.
so inexpensive. But one of the things we got were these pictures. They were just pictures of flowers. We bought them 15 years ago when we moved here, and they were in a model home for a few years before that. So they were dated.
Hmm.
And I was so ready to be done. And so one thing that I felt that was good for my physical self-care was to say, update the picture. Like, I want to look at something beautiful, and that's okay. I can do that for myself
Hmm.
and to go ahead and do that. And I think you mentioned guilt. I think that's a thing. Like, sometimes we feel this, well, I'll just make do. So it's a picture I don't like. So I'll look at it for 10 years.
Right.
I'll
Right.
just, instead of saying, no, it's okay to want these things for myself. It's okay to want to beautify my home and have physical surroundings I like.
Absolutely. I know one of the things that my husband and I ventured on a few years ago was actually kind of minimizing the things that we had in our home because it was just so overwhelming. Everything was pretty, but it was just clutter. And so we started actually getting rid of the visual clutter in our home to where now when you walk in, it's like we have this physical space that we feel like we can actually breathe in.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. And that's another one in physical
Mhm.
self-care is simplifying. And if, what you're talking about sounds like the condo method. Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
yeah,
I'm
the
saying
Marie
it wrong.
Kondo. Hmm.
Marie Kondo. Yes. And so, yeah, you want to see if everything sparks joy, right? So if
Right.
you are looking and it's adding stress to your life, then you want to get rid of it. Or if you're missing something that you want to add into your life, it kind of goes both ways. I mean,
Hmm.
just making your physical surroundings work for you. So, physical body, physical surroundings, those are all part of our physical self care. This also has to do with cleaning up. I am not a huge fan of cleaning. I'm not one that, is going to spend hours and hours
Hmm.
cleaning my house every day.
Right.
But there's a certain level of cleaning my house that contributes to my self care. That, if there's stuff on the floor, it adds stress to my life. It makes me frustrated. And I just am not as happy of a person. So recognizing, okay, I need just this little bit of cleanliness is
Hmm.
going to make me better, make me happier. And so it's good for me to take care of that. And what that does for me, putting it in that perspective, makes it so it's on me. Like, what I mean by that is I can say, I'm doing this for me. It's not so that I have a picture perfect house. It's because I want it. And then I don't have that resentment when
Mm.
things get messed up again. It's like, that was worth it for me because I feel better for having done it.
Right.
Okay, so that one's physical self care. The next one is mental self care. So, in mental self care, it's things that are going to help our mind. So, this might be listening to a podcast. Woohoo! Plug
Yay!
podcast. Yeah, that's always a good one. So,
Absolutely.
yes. So while we're doing other things, maybe we're listening to a podcast, maybe we're reading a book, maybe for mental, we want to turn everything off. I know
Hmm.
in some houses they have music on all the time or TV on in the background, and you don't realize what that's doing to your mental state until you turn it off. And once you turn it off, you go, oh, I can hear my thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I have this space in my mind. And so sometimes mentally, that's what we need. And so recognizing that, and a big part of this self care is recognizing what you need
Hmm.
at the moment and being aware of that and letting yourself take that step to get it.
I know for me personally, the mental part of this is I actually had to take like a mental break from, listening to different things or reading different articles or, visiting different websites that I was actually getting a lot of information from because I felt to the point to where I was overwhelmed because I couldn't keep up. It was kind of pushing me down physically and then mentally. It was clouding my view to where I actually had to take a break and then realize, okay, these are the things that are really important to me. So I'm starting to add different things back in again. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think one thing that we can all relate to that's similar to that is with Facebook or other social
Mm,
media. We think, it's just part of our lives and we're on it, and we don't realize that weight that it sometimes has on us. And so sometimes if we take a break from it, if we step back, that's when we realize, like, oh, when I'm on Facebook, I don't feel as happy. But you can't realize that unless you step back from it because you're so
mhm.
in it that, it's very subtle. And
It
so you
is.
don't always see what's happening in the moment.
It is. And it's a habit too, because I will figure out that I'm watching TV at night or, doing something with my family and I will reach over for my phone to see what's going on Facebook. And I've realized that I need to kind of put this aside and take a mental break that way, maybe for a while.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us have that habit. It's hard not to. You always just check really quick. And our brain, that's the first thing we go to. So
Hmm.
rewriting those pathways in the brain, reworking those habits so that they're conscious. It's fine to check social media. I have social media, I check it. But what I try to do, what I hope to do, is to do it consciously and to
Mm,
make sure it's not controlling me and that I don't spend too much time or energy on things that are bringing me down.
right.
Okay, so the next one, number 3 on the self care challenge is nourish. So this one's talking about nourishing your body, taking care of the things that you put into your body. Now, I'm a huge fan of green smoothies. Have a green smoothie every day. I love my vegetables. My kids make a lot of fun of me. They always say, like, what's mom's favorite dessert? A green smoothie. And no, it's not, but I like my vegetables.
And you actually have a recipe for your favorite green smoothie on your website, right?
I do, yes. And it's something I love. I drink it every single day because I love it and because I feel like it's nourishing my body. And my particular green smoothie recipe is pretty low in sugar, which is kind of hard to find. A lot of green smoothies that people drink have a lot of sugar, mostly fruit sugars, right? But it's still a big hit of sugar to your system all at once. So I like this smoothie because it doesn't have a ton of sugar and it still gives you that boost of energy from all the greens. So that might be nourishing yourself, might mean that. It might mean eating healthy, but it might mean something else entirely. It might mean you are too focused on dieting and weight loss. And maybe to nourish yourself, what you really need is a hot fudge sundae. Maybe that's
Mm.
what you need.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think that, yeah, I think you're right. I think I do need that.
yeah. But you know what? If you're going to have a hot fudge sundae to really nourish your body, you need to sit down and you need to eat it and you need to savor it and enjoy every bite. Because what I find a lot of us do as moms, we want that. And our body's like, just give me some sugar. I want a treat. And so what do? We go hide in the pantry with a
Hmm.
sleeve of Oreos or, the pint of ice cream and we're eating it really fast so no one will come find us because they're going to want some too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that is not nourishing to our bodies. We can feel the difference. Even talking about that, sitting down with a spoon and a hot fudge sundae is a lot different feeling than standing up eating Chips Ahoy in the pantry, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we want the thing that is going to nourish us. So whatever it is that is going to nourish us, whether it's more on the green leafy vegetable side or the indulgent side, wherever it is, we need to do it without guilt because we can do either of those things with guilt. Sure, it's easy to be guilty for the indulgence, but we can also be drinking a green smoothie thinking this is all I deserve.
Hmm.
I just need a green smoothie because I'm fat and I'm not worthy of a cheesecake.
Well, I just actually experienced this yesterday just going to the grocery store because I ran in for a couple of items and I'm at the checkout and I look over and I see like Reese's peanut butter cups, which is one of my favorite things. And my mom guilt totally came in and I said, no, I'm not going to eat those because I know that my kids would love to have those too. And if I'm eating it and I'm not sharing it with them, then, and I totally passed on the Reese's peanut butter cups and did not get them. But am I still thinking about it today? Absolutely. I am.
Yeah, because sometimes we need a little treat. So, one thing that I talk about a lot is the 80-20 rule. And this is what I really believe with nutrition. I've studied nutrition for a long time. went to the Institute of Nutritional Leadership with Dr. Josh Axe. It's one of my passions. And what I believe is that 80% of our meals should be chosen for health. I mean, we need good food that's going to nourish our body. We know we need that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some wiggle room. The other 20%, have the Reese's peanut butter cups without guilt. Know that you're eating good things most of the time, and that's enough. And then when you have that other 20% that's not super healthy, not really feeding, your muscles and your bones, it's going to feed your soul. As cheesy as that sounds, I also teach yoga, so we say cheesy things like that. But you want it to feed your soul. You want it to still be good for you on that level, that level of enjoyment, that level of happiness, and that's okay.
I've never really thought of it that way, feeding our bodies and feeding our soul as well. That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
It helps me because I think there's a level for all of us of guilt when we eat. We're told food is bad. Certain foods are bad. We know, but they taste so good, but they're bad. And there's this guilt. And so we need to consciously work to get over that guilt, enjoy when we're having a treat, enjoy it. And then, most of the time we do take care of our body. So that's a big one. Nourishing our body and nourishing our soul is number 3. So number 4 is relaxation or pampering. So this one is really fun. And if you have, lots of time and lots of money, I think there are tons of ways that you can automatically think of, pampering and relaxation. I mentioned a few earlier, like pedicures and manicures and spa days and massages. But for a lot of us, that's not our reality, that we have a lot of time and we have a lot of money. And a lot of times, if we have a lot of time, we don't have a lot of money. Or if we have a lot of money, we don't have a lot of time. It's hard to have both, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So there are little things that we can build into our days to get this relaxation or this pampering. Things like a hot bath, put some essential oils in there. One little thing that I love to do is get a little something you can soak your feet in. I bought things that you're supposed to put dishes in at the dollar store.
Oh, yeah.
Cost $1, and a thing of marbles. You put the marbles in the dish container. You put hot water in there. You put your feet in and rub your feet on the marbles. It's a little simple $2 massage. You can use it over and over. Feels great. And it's totally relaxing, totally pampering. The kids can do it right next to you.
I'm so doing that tonight.
It's so much fun. It's just a nice little thing. So any little thing you can build into your day, to your routine, a face mask, whatever it is for you. Ask your husband for a massage or teach your kids how to give you a massage. My kids are good foot massagers. We've taught them young. Yeah.
Same.
Yes. I mean, that's one of our duties as mom is to teach our kids how to give good foot massages.
Absolutely.
So, yes. And then the last one is social self-care. So all I'll say on that is just to take care of ourselves socially, we need to make sure that we're putting ourselves in situations and with people that lift us up and build us up so that when we are in those social situations, we leave uplifted. And that we're also making sure that we have those social situations because sometimes as moms, it's easy to stay home and get in our rut with just us and our kids. And it's okay. Right. We need other people. We need to go out. We need to talk and have conversations. And that all helps us to be a more fulfilled and better person.
Right. And that is something that is really hard when you have a lot of smaller kids at home and your friends have smaller kids at home, because finding that time together to where you guys can get your schedules together and, be able to play together and everything. But it's so important because what I am actually experiencing right now, we did play groups and stuff when the boys were little. But now that they're older, I have a 16 and a 12-year-old. We're not in play groups anymore. They're out with their friends, hanging out. And here I am trying to find my place, with other moms and other friends and stuff. But what I found is that community of people were able to hang out more together, but also the community that maybe I had lost, a few years ago when I did have kids, we're actually coming back together because our kids are getting older. So actually being in that community of people is really, really important, especially when your kids become teenagers. And I know that we get to a point to where when our kids are toddlers, we think, can you just stop talking for just 5 minutes? I need that mental break, right? Well, now, the kids are older and I'm going, hello, I'm still here. Do you want to talk? I'm here if you want to talk. So
Yeah.
I'm in a different stage now with that social aspect to where I'm actually able to go out and find friends, maybe bring back some of the friends that I've kind of lost touch with.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the kids are really young, it can feel so hard sometimes to get everyone loaded up and go somewhere, and sometimes it almost seems not worth the effort. And yet it's so important. And you usually leave, a play date just feeling better, a little bit happier, a little bit lighter. But it's such a good point that you bring up that it's not just for the kids. It's not just for then. It's to build these relationships because we're going to need those. We need those. We need each other and we need that friendship and that sisterhood that comes from spending time together. So it's important to make that a priority.
So you are coming from a place where you have 5 kids yourself.
Yes.
So you are not bringing this to the table as saying, oh, moms need to do this. And, this is my idea of how to have moms have a better life. You actually have 5 kids yourself and their age range is from, I know you have a 2-year-old.
Yes, he's almost 2. And then I have 4 kids that are a little bit older. So what we did is we had 4 kids in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought we were done. So there's a 7-year gap between number 4 and number 5. And then number 5 was a total surprise. So yes, I am saying this as a mom in the trenches. I have a little bit older kids. My daughter just turned 15 and then my baby is almost 2. So we have a full range of ages at our house.
Right. And you still find time to do these things that you're talking about. You still find time to pamper yourself in the physical, mental relaxation, nourishment, and social way.
Yes. So I feel like the more kids you have and the more crazy things get, the more this is needed. It's absolutely essential because I cannot be an effective mom and a good mom and a happy mom if from every waking moment, I'm just dealing with my kids' needs, because what happens is I get grumpy and I am not able to have that perspective and to come from a good place when I'm dealing with all my kids' stuff. So the way that I handle this and the way that I make sure to make self-care and taking care of the things that I need a priority is with a morning routine. Actually, I have this built in. Every single morning, I do things for myself so that I set the tone for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I was seeing that on your website. Tell us about your morning routine.
Sure. So every morning I wake up, I first say my prayers, and then I come in the office and I close the door, and I have a sign I put on the door. And that sign is like, no one is allowed to come in this room. This is mom's time. Don't mess.
And they know that, right?
They know from hard experience because if they come in, I've told them, and now my kids don't, but I've done this for probably 5 years or so now. And so when they were littler and they would come in, they would have a consequence. If you come in when that sign's on the door, you will have a consequence. And so they knew, and so they learned really quick. But I come in, I do yoga every morning. Maybe it's short, maybe it's longer, but I definitely do some form of yoga. I do meditation. I do journaling. I read scriptures and other inspirational material. And then I have my healthy breakfast, and I do certain things around the house and other things as I go throughout my day. So, but that is my basic morning routine that happens every day. So every day I'm getting in physical, I'm getting in mental, I'm taking care of things that really matter to me.
And that gets your day started off right. So you're not getting up, hitting the floor, running until you basically fall back into the bed at night again.
Yeah. And you know what I feel like? A lot of times when we don't have a deliberate morning routine, we wake up and we react. So instead of acting, we're reacting. So what I mean by that is the kids wake you up. Maybe you want to sleep in a little longer, and then the kids come in and they want something, and you're like, okay, I'll go get you breakfast, and then you're doing something for them, and then they need this, and you're doing that, and then you're checking Facebook. What does everyone else have going on? And you're reacting to that. To make a deliberate morning routine is saying, I am acting. These are the things I'm choosing to do without input from other people. Yes, that input's going to come the rest of the day. Your husband's going to need things, your kids, you're going to see things online, you're going to answer emails, you're going to do all those things. But you're first acting in the way that you want to before taking all those other requests.
It gets you right in the right mindset.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your weightlifting. I don't know. I just got this visual just now of that's your strength training, the whole Rocky scenes, you're like running up the steps and you're doing your strength training or whatever. And then you go in for the fight for the rest of the day.
Yeah. It's totally like that. It is just prepping you. You are set for the rest of the day. Like now you're stronger. Now you can take this, whatever comes. And then by the next day, you need to do it all again because it's time. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of daily self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go get a massage once a week or once a month if you can.
Okay.
Awesome. Do it. Yeah, it's wonderful, but it's not enough.
Hi, honey. Chanelle told me to. Sorry.
You now have permission. Yes. But we have to do the daily things also. So we have to make sure we're making time for that.
Absolutely. One of the things that I did when my boys were toddlers, when they were a lot smaller, was nightly when we would put them to bed and, we'd say our prayers and we'd read a book. And we actually had like this dance routine where we would dance to David Crowder Band every night, which people probably think, oh my goodness, you're like raising their heart rate. They're not going to go to sleep. But it wasn't like that at all. It actually relaxed them. And they knew that was one last thing that they could do before they went to bed. So that was our nightly routine. But I would put them to bed and I would say to them, do you think that I'm a good mommy? Of course, they would say, yes, you're a good mommy. And I would tell them, okay, if you want me to continue being a good mommy, then I need you to stay in your bed and go to sleep. And then I will see you in the morning. And they learned that routine. And so I would come out and I would have the next hour or so to myself to do, watch a show if I wanted to, or read a book or take a bath or whatever it was that I wanted to do, knowing that my kids weren't going to come in and disturb me at that time. And it made a huge difference. And I think that it actually speaks into the lives of our kids as well, because they're seeing what you're doing every day. They're seeing us take that time for ourselves. They're seeing us step back. They're seeing us relax. They're seeing us maybe even do the physical. They're seeing us nourish our bodies. And so they're learning from that. And they're actually gaining a routine from that, whether they know it or not. They're gaining a routine from that because they know they can't disturb you during that time. That's their routine. And so when they get older, that's going to be a great example for them when they have their own families to be able to know, you know what, my mom is great and I turned out great because she did this. And I'm going to do this for my family. And I need to take this time for myself as well.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And I hope that when we do this, we're teaching our kids, our daughters, not to feel guilty for taking time for themselves, and our sons too. But men don't seem to have the same problem with guilt. They seem to be able to do it with no guilt, right?
I know.
I don't know why that is.
True.
But they can see that their wives are going to need that, and to say, okay, my mom, like you said, my mom did this. No one needs to feel guilty for taking time for themselves. This is just a normal part of being a human, and especially a part of being a mom. And so then it can take away that guilt from everybody, which is a good thing. So that's one thing we can remind ourselves when we start to feel guilty. No, I am training my children for what I want for them. We don't want our daughters, when they grow up and become moms, we don't want them to work themselves to the bone and never take a break. Of course not. We want them to have a happy, fulfilled life. And so when we model that, that's the best way to make that happen.
We have created this, I must work. And, there's no play at all. And there's no relaxation or anything. And that is not something that I want to pass on to my kids.
Right.
Chanelle, how do you define self-care?
So it's a good question, because I think that sometimes we do things thinking we need a break. And so we're just going to do, like we mentioned earlier, Facebook. And yet it doesn't become self-care until we're doing something that really fills us. And the challenge that I do for moms is called the Fill Your Own Cup Self-Care Challenge. The idea being we have to be filled so that we can share that with other people. And so there's a lot of things that we do that is pseudo self-care. Things like sometimes watching TV. Sometimes I'm not bagging on watching TV. Sometimes that's a good thing for us to do. Sometimes that's just what we need. But sometimes it's really not. And it's just habit, or checking Facebook, or I mentioned earlier, going for a run when your body needs a break. It's really doing those things that are going to fill you up and allow you to be replenished so that you come from a better place. So I think that the essence of that really comes down to what is going to fill me up? What is going to help me get what I need right now? And there's a level of introspection there. We have to look at, what do I need? And we have to be aware of that. And so that comes with taking a step back and not just doing the things that we always do, the things that we're in the habit of, and seeing what we need. So I think that that's a really important thing to keep in mind with self-care. Mm-hmm. Maybe for you, like my sister-in-law, for example, she does not like to go get pedicures. She says, I don't want anyone playing with my toes. Like, she thinks that's the weirdest thing for someone to touch her feet. She doesn't like feet. She doesn't enjoy it. So obviously for her, that's not self-care, and she knows that. So she's not going to go get a pedicure, but there are ways that we all kind of go along with things, and we do things when they're really not self-care. And so we need to just make sure that what we're doing is what we need at that time.
And you have a self-care challenge on your website that people can sign up for, correct?
Yes. So that is starting up again on August 20th. I would love to have your listeners join me. The link for that is momswhoknowpodcast.com/self-care.
Okay. And that starts up on August 20th. And so they can go to your website, momswhoknowpodcast.com/self-care, and sign up for that there.
That's right. And there's daily videos, there's prizes, and it's really fun. This is the second time we've done it. We had about 300 people participate last time. And it's so fun to read every day what other moms are doing to take care of themselves and things that are working. And they had great ideas of ways that they were going to implement the challenge. And so it's a lot of fun to have that community and to make self-care a priority with other moms who are doing the same thing.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love that. That community, I think, is like the word of the year.
Yeah.
And I think that like so many people are looking for community. They're looking for the people who are in the same boat that they are in.
Yeah. Yes. It's so great. That connection that comes from community is really what it's all about.
All right. Well, thank you, Chanelle, for being on our podcast today. This has been absolutely amazing. I love talking with you. I love picking your brain. Like I said before, she is the host of Moms Who Know podcast. And I highly recommend you go and check out her podcast because she has some great interviews. She has some great talks. She has some great information on her website. I'm going to put a link to that on our show notes. And also a few of the other things that we had talked about. You will find the links to all of those on our show notes. And Chanelle, we just thank you so much for being here today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
If you like Tea of Life podcast and you've got two friends who want to create the life that they love to live, tell them about us. Find us on your favorite social media platform like Facebook or Instagram. Also, right now before you forget, go to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts and search for Tea of Life podcast. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode. Thank you for listening to Tea of Life podcast. We'll see you next Monday.